What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Real Combat, the debate show for movie lovers. And I have two great guests on tonight to discuss why I should watch their movies. And we have Leif. You're coming at me with what movie?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, all right. Pan's
Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah. And Andrew, welcome to the show. What is your movie of choice tonight?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Ooh. Two great movies. I'm very excited for it. Two movies I've seen, which I am also very excited to talk about. So as we go on, again, everybody, as you know, this works in 4 rounds. First round is why I should watch your movie. Second round is what is the movie's influence on audiences. Third round is rebuttals. And fourth round is personal connection to the movie. Then, of course, I will pick a winner based on the arguments that Leif and Andrew both give. Now, before we get started, I just want to welcome you guys to the show. How are you this evening?
Excellent.
Doing fantastic. Already got my cup of coffee ready.
Now, Andrew, you are the host of the Voiceover Coffee Shop. Tell us a little bit about your show.
So the Voiceover Coffee Shop is both meant to show behind the smoke and mirrors of what we do for people who don't know what goes into voiceover. And it's meant to be an educational tool for people who do work in voiceover. So I've had many good friends of mine on, whether it be people that work in animation like Bob Bergen and Bill Farmer and Morgan Berry, who have been in Disney productions, anime, etc., or people that work in e-learning or commercial work or documentaries. And so it's just something that I enjoy doing because I enjoy talking with my friends and picking their brains and seeing what they do on a day-to-day basis. How do they take their coffee? But it's also meant to get away from the same 10 questions that are constantly drilled into both actors and voice actors alike over and over and over again, because we've got follow-up questions. What do you do outside of the booth? How are you doing your marketing? How are you finding this jobs? What inspires you to create characters? You're really well known for this, but what role really resonated with you? And so that's a little synopsis of the show.
All right, I dig it. And, it's very interesting to hear about like what voiceover actors have to go through and like how the industry sort of works for them. And I'm really looking forward to checking out your show. Again, it's the Voiceover Coffee Shop. Go check it out now. Well, watch this show, then go check it out. But we are going to come back. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. And we're going to talk about both of you and your voiceover work. So before that, let us get started. This is round 1 and why I should watch your movie. So it's Pan's Labyrinth versus Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And because Pan's Labyrinth is the older movie from 2006, Leif, you have the floor, sir.
Round 1, fight!
All right. Well, for me, the argument is simple. Pan's Labyrinth is about processing life before we know what we're seeing. The magical realism that is presented in the film is a almost perfect depiction of that mythical part of our early consciousness when we're starting to put stuff together. And obviously the Spanish Civil War didn't go the way that I reckon most folks would prefer it went. And it's a really epic conflict that this child's upbringing and development into a thinking, acting person in life, it's just amazing. And so rather than some, suburban person from the burbs figuring out how dating works, it's a fight against oppression and forces which hold folks down. Ergo, Pan's Labyrinth is the better film.
That is a hell of an argument. Okay. Now we're getting into it. I want to hear why I should watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World from the mind of Andrew Morrison. Andrew, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, let's begin with the director, Edgar Wright, who is known for his funny dialogues, his visual comedy, his ability to give foreshadowing in frequent and effective uses, not only in the movie itself, but who he casts. Like every superhero in the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World has become a superhero in another movie. Take Chris Evans, who became Captain America, take Brie Larson, take any of his cast, and they later went on to do that. But we're talking about this movie in particular. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is adored for its fantastic music, its well choreographed fight scenes, and every fight style that you can imagine, as well as its amazing cinematography and editing. It feels like you're reading a comic book and playing a video game at the same time with all of the storytelling of a great movie. But that cinematic film style doesn't cover over all the substance and the meat and what makes that the plot and the different things that Scott has to go through. It doesn't overshadow it at all.
All right, I gotta stop you there. Here's the problem with having two voiceover actors do their pitches to me. Is you got an extra 11 seconds on that one because I get mesmerized by your voices. And it's not okay. This isn't okay, guys. No, your arguments are fantastic. And it's like when you have a nice, well-voiced actor stepping in to do these arguments, I'm like, I'm entranced. Tell me more. No, but a great argument with that one. I'm going to give you an extra 10 seconds if you do need it, Leif, because I'm sorry about that. But we're going to move on to round two. And both of you have a very good argument for this one because they both had serious effects on their audiences. Round two is what influence did this movie have on its audiences? And as we go, Leif, you're going to start us off.
Round two, fight.
All right. Well, I believe the impact of Pan's Labyrinth was twofold. Firstly, it reinforced a more previously dormant strain of surreal film within American cinematography. I feel that since then we've been a little bit more lucky insofar as that magical realism is more so present, and more importantly, non-Anglican perspectives and things outside of the WASP cultural stratosphere has become a little bit more culturally accessible, i.e. Pan's Labyrinth is set in Spain during a very real conflict. And secondly, I think that it's, like a lot of good films from that era, really reinforced that we live in history and we cannot let the petty drama of our individual lives get in the way of the bigger structures at force around us, the economy, the climate, the world, asteroid, there's all sorts of things outside of, the theater of the heart that is going on. And not that we stop caring and loving one another, but, if Stacy doesn't like me, that's a bummer. But, we have war.
I gave you the extra 11 on that one. Good arguments. I like it. Now, Andrew.
Well, let me not only go over the influence that it had on past audiences, but the impact it has on current audiences. See, the problem with a lot of older cinematics is that with current culture, like let's say Friends, for example, there have been a lot of new people that have gone in and watched Friends and found different political incorrectnesses in the movie. Now, even though Scott Pilgrim has some things that could be seen as problematic, it handles it in a very strategic way. So let Scott, even though he ends up dating a 17-year-old, even though he ends up dating two different people, he, at the end of the movie, not only has to he has to face his own actions, not only for the actions that he affected on other people, but also the actions that have affected him as well.
Oh, an argument. All right. Well, guys, I got to say right now, I want to watch both movies. And that's not unheard of on this show because I get entranced by everybody's arguments, but there will be one winner and we will continue. But before we do, we are going to go on and I have some questions for you guys about voice acting. All right. So Andrew, you are the host of the Voiceover Coffee Shop. Now you've told us about the show. Now tell us a little bit about your voice acting. And Leif, you're also a voice actor, so I'm going to come to you too with this. How long has it been since you guys have gotten started?
Roughly around 3 years for me.
Oh wow, okay, very nice.
About 1.5 years for myself.
All right, so now getting into the industry, something like this, how did you figure out like this is for you, like voice acting?
Well, I used to work as a actually a kitchen manager, though I grew up in theater, and so being expressive was always a part of who I was. But as a kitchen manager, the moment that I found out about voiceover and that this was actually a job that was outside of Hollywood was I was sitting on my break and scrolling through my phone, and an advertisement popped up for a website that it said get a job as a voice actor, and I was like, I'd love to get a job as a voice actor, thinking that it was a job back then. So I'm scrolling through the application and I'm like, all right, resume none, demo, don't know what that is, blah, 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 blah. And then it came with a price tag of $500 for the year. And I was like, well, I'm running a restaurant. I don't have a spare $500. I don't even know if I rent next week. But gears just started ticking into my burger. I was like, into my mind. I was like, this isn't a nothing burger. This is a something burger. I want to figure out what all goes into this. So I did a phenomenal amount of research, and I found out that voiceover is run like a business. Whether it be commercial work or e-learning work, it's all contract. Once you finish a job, that's your paycheck and you're on to the next job. And so figuring out how to make those connections, how to market myself, creating a business plan to, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. And then backtracking those steps on, okay, from here, this is what came before that. This is what came before that. This is what came before that. Here's where I am now, so that I could create a blueprint of where I wanted to go. And it's led to some pretty amazing things and some pretty surprising things that I never would have even remotely expected.
That's awesome. It's really cool. And Leif, how about you, man? How'd you get started in the industry?
Well, like a lot of folks, I was sticking around my room a lot during this recent pandemic. I had recently, I was about to get out of a contract that I was working on, kind of a 9-to-5 situation. And I realized, you know what? A lot of people are making bread. A lot of people are rediscovering oil painting, which is something I still want to do. I happen to find voice acting as a hobby. I mean, don't get me wrong. I also come from a very strong theater background. I did it all throughout my childhood, you know, and then different forms of it, be it improv, be it sketch comedy, be it, you know, leading or playing D&D or whatever with your wizard, your orc, or your dwarf, you know, like so many voices that, you know, or just being a creative, expressive dude. And so I figured eventually, you know, this sounds like a really engaging way to spend my time because, you know, right now we're still sort of stuck at home. And, you know, honestly, it's been a fantastic community of actors and creatives to get involved with. And it turns out a lot of projects need voice acting on it. And so don't think that because myself or Drew even more so have a practiced radio voice that it's necessarily something we like fall out of our mothers being good at doing. It's more a matter of we get enough feedback and internalize it, and through our practice, we get better at the radio. Or, you know, that's a little bit exaggerated, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, you know, on that note, though, for you guys, anybody who's starting out doing voice acting, what are maybe some things you would maybe nudge them towards to start, or how to look, or how to kind of get into it?
Researching as much as possible on not only the kind of voiceover you want to get into, but what are the current trends there? Because a lot of things have shifted from the way, a lot of media has shifted from the way that it used to be portrayed. So we especially saw a shift during the pandemic, where before the pandemic, things were very playful and like we had those happy, upbeat sort of commercials, or animation was going into those that quirkiness. But then as the pandemic started to happen, and as the millennial buyer generation started to happen, we started to feel a lot more authenticity in what we were hearing. Because the millennial buyer, which is very prominent right now, can smell when you're trying to sell to them from a mile away. And so they don't want sell. They want you and your authentic self providing the information, or being that character and truly embodying that character in a way that they can truly believe that the lip flaps coming from what you're seeing on the screen is actually a person. And so, and then going back to commercial, in the middle of the pandemic, we started to get that, even though there was that tiny bit of comedy, it was a lot of that come back now, or or that we're waiting for the new normal. And then there were those awkward kinds of funny. And so figuring out where the market's going, figuring out what you want to do, and figuring out where those puzzle pieces can kind of align.
Leif, how about you, man? Is there anything you would add to that?
Absolutely. In addition to agreeing with what Drew just said, I have to say that especially if you're getting into voice acting, as frankly I have in the last couple of years, it's really good to have take advice, do your research, and kind of have a reasonable scoped expectations of what you're going to be able to do. I've observed people try to rush into making a demo, which is very unwise. You do not want to make a demo and start sending it out before you are ready. And by ready, I mean like your peers and your coaches, whoever, like a network of people that you have developed to make you a better actor are all saying, do it, do it, do it. Because, you know, a lot of folks want it to kind of fall in their haps or into their hands, have somebody just give them the right advice, give them the magic dust or whatever magic that happens to make it happen. Whereas the magic is hard work and sweat and effort, not, you know, knowing somebody, getting in whatever kind of demo you can scrap together, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're the new Goku or what have you. So, yes, gaming or video games and anime and TV can be very fun to watch, but like don't necessarily want to rush straight into fan projects that, you know, are going to use somebody else's IP. There's just a whole lot of things as a newcomer that you got to watch out for. But mostly I'll say it takes work. Don't like think that you're going to skip to the front of the line just because you think you're special, because we're all special. But, you know, we all have different perspectives on who the you is that is talking. But anyway.
All right. Well, fair enough. Good advice, guys. I appreciate that. And good arguments so far. So we are going to get into it. We're going to get into round 3, everybody, and that's rebuttals. Now it's you two up against each other. And tell me why the other person isn't right. I should still watch your movie. Okay. So with that being said, Andrew, you're going to start us off this time.
Round 3.
I don't know how to rebuttal this because I hate to say this on air, but I have never seen Pan's Labyrinth. So I don't know how to tell you that you're wrong for a movie that I've never seen. That I feel like that would just be, I don't know. I don't have much rebuttal. I mean, my rebuttal is how amazing my movie is in the way that it illustrates the careless ways that we treat people in the funniest way possible, gamifying infatuation and heartache to the soundtrack of garage rock and Nintendo. But I mean, that's about as much as I got.
All right. Well, good argument there. Okay. So now with that being said, Leif, you're going to take it on. Why should I watch your movie over Andrew's movie?
For me, I feel it's simple. What layer of society deserves the most attention? Because on a certain level, don't get me wrong, conquests of the heart can take up so much emotional energy in our lives. It can leave us unfulfilled. It can be the thing that's the first thing on our morning in the morning or the last thing we think of before we go to sleep at night. But at the same time, above the theater and arena of the heart, there are big forces at work in society. That's how history happens. That's how one superstructure from society crashes into another. And now we have NFTs, we have Bitcoin, we have the society we live in 2021. And on a more personal level, I watched that movie while in a very bad polyamorous relationship, and it gave me all these red flags that I was seeing that remind me of that particular bad experience. It was telling me, Leif, get out of that relationship. It's unhealthy. It's not good. You don't want to date like that. I mean, I know it's a show. I know the fighting is like for entertainment, the same way that we like watching Batman beat up bad guys or whatever. But like, that movie gave me red flags, and whenever I think about it, I think of like
right,
just
I needed to leave that bad situation. 20 seconds on that one. Andrew, I'll give you a little extra
communicate.
No, he's fine. I enjoyed that.
That was funny. I will give you that. All right. There's a part of me like I'm listening to your argument, Lee, and I'm like, I don't feel like I can work against this. Like you're throwing a lot at me, man. But your movie is covering everything. It seems.
I took debate for a couple of years back in high school.
There you go.
I did not. That was my mistake, apparently.
All right. Well, we are going to get into the round 4. Usually, the round that wins it most times for me because somebody says something and it just touches my heart, and that is, what's your personal connections to each movie? Now, Andrew, the floor is yours on the first one, and everybody, this is
Round 4.
Now, with this movie, not only does the music and actors that I'm very fond of, and the way it's this beautiful blend of synchronization in every film style that you can imagine, just blended together in this perfect mix of cinematic beauty, but also what this movie stands for. Understanding yourself, understanding your limits, understanding that when you make a mistake, you can't just brush over it like any other movie tries to portray in our lives. You have to own up to the mistakes, both that you make to other people and the mistakes that you make within your own heart to yourself. Because I believe that is where all of these diplomatic things stem from. All of these crazy things going on in the world and all of these societal problems that we have, they come from the individual heart, greed and emotion and wanting more than we can have in our lives. All done to, as I said, garage rock and Nintendo. Now, doesn't that sound like the movie that you want to see?
I gave you a little extra time on that one, but again, both of your arguments are worth it. I'm almost scared to go to you, Leif. This is going to be like cooking a pig, man.
Oh no, don't worry.
Uh-oh.
1 second.
Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Yep, he's going there.
All right. So,
oh God. The floor is yours, sir. Go right ahead.
So, in 2006, a lot of stuff was going on. It was the final quarter of the Bush administration. I was about to get out of high school. And, something about that film really just reminded something and nourished a fire that was already lit in my heart, that we can't just be bystanders in our own lives. We can't just let history slip us by because we're in history. Like, history did not end at any particular time. We're living it now. And so rather than let bad relationships or let very obviously failing relationships like hold us back, that it's more important to focus on the big picture, the people around us, the people that we do still love and do still care about. And also now every time I go to fairy parties, I'm a fawn because it's fun and people like the horned goat boy or whatever. But really, the main point of Pan's Labyrinth is processing trauma and going forward and making the best of it.
Jesus.
Hold on. Let me do the actor. let me do the actor trick real quick. That was beautiful, man.
Your read is better. I'm just
did
trying to.
So good.
Oh God.
That really hit me in the heart.
Listen, I don't know how I go against the horns. I really don't. And
Mess with the goat, you get the horns.
this has definitely been the most eventful episode so far. All right, here's the thing. Both great movies, both great arguments. But I gotta give it to Pan's Labyrinth.
Well done, Leif.
Here's what won me over. It was a pun.
What?
It was a pun that won me over. I mean, listen, it's not just that. I mean, the arguments were both really great. And
So if I would have brought out my inner father, I could have won this. Damn, I should have read the room.
It was a pun that Leif didn't even know he said. I don't think so. He didn't act
I'm so punny. But what was it? Well, please tell me.
Every time I go to viewings or I go to shows now, I have to go as a fawn. And then you just kind of kept going on, and I feel like you mispronounced it, but you said they're always so fawn, but you meant fun. And I was like,
yeah, that was not conscious at all.
I was like, it didn't seem that way. That's what it is. I think it was like an inadvertent pun, and I was like, I gotta go with it. Like, it's just, I don't know why that won that for me, but it's just, I was.
Scott Pilgrim is also a good
high
film.
five, Leif.
High five. I have personal baggage with it for whatever the hell reason. I hold on to it, but like, it's a good coming of age film. It's just one that I'm gonna leave in my teenage years.
Scott Pilgrim is one of those movies to me that is probably one of the best comic book movies of all time, video game movies of all time. I know it's not a video game, but
right, I
they do it perfectly in there. I mean, they do it better than most video game movies have done. So, and it's so well acted and just a lot of fun all around. And it is just one of the most fun movies for sure. And Pan's Labyrinth is not one of the most fun movies by any means or stretch.
I wouldn't know, but now due to the audience here, I have to go watch Pan's Labyrinth.
I do. You should check it out. I will say that, but we should also be checking out Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So if anybody hasn't seen either of these movies, you need to get out there and watch them for sure. Both highly recommended. I want to say congratulations to you, Leif. That was really a hell of a fight. Andrew, great time doing this. That you did a great job, and we will have you both back if you're willing to come back on.
Yeah.
You are. So I announced on Friday night, everybody, that Real Combat, before season 2 starts in June, at the end of June, we will be doing in April a 5-night live event of the Tournament of Champions. So, Leif, you will be getting an invite for that. And Andrew, if you come back on the show, you may get an invite as well. You could win it again.
I'll be back.
We would love to have you. So I wanted you guys to make sure you go out and you're checking out the Voiceover Coffee Shop. It's available, I'm assuming, everywhere. I know you have YouTube, but it's on all
everywhere. Spotify, Apple, anywhere fine podcasts are served.
And we will link everything down in the description so you can go check it out and just click on the links right there. So I want to thank you guys again for both being on the show. It's a lot of fun. Both great choices. So everybody go check out the Scene Snob stuff. It's all on the after credits roll, so just listen to it there or go to thescenesnobs.com. That's where you'll find us. But until next time, I'm Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care.
Woo!
Peace.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, and you can check out the Scene Snobs podcast live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can check it out on any podcast platform or our YouTube channel anytime after that. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you guys want to join, check us out over on thescenesnobs.com. We have links for everything. The Scene Snobs merch store is open. You can check that out too. Links again on the site. Or like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media. Again, head over to thescenesnobs.com. It's all there for you guys. Love you, and we'll talk to you guys soon.